Right, here we go. This is Mike Rogers the channel. We've had such a good I've had such a good response from my Only Fools and Horses commentary for No Greater Love. I think we'll try another one, and this time we're going to do Strained Relations, which is the passing of the baton between good old Grandad, played by Leonard, Pearce, passing on to Buster Merrifield into Uncle Albert. So when I say play, and we will be all synced up. Ready, steady, play. And there we go, just getting the old BBC thing, watching this on Netflix, but there we go. Stick a pony in my pocket, and there's the Only Fools and Horses sign, so you should be all synced up if you're there with me now. Written by John Sullivan, deeply missed. He did a load of comedies. He did Citizen Smith, Just Good Friends. I don't think they're anywhere near as good as this. I think he did a Taxi one called Roger. Yeah, he was a great talent, but this is the zenith of his career. You know, Only Fools and Horses was his top programme. There we are, we open with a reef, and this is so brave, a comedy programme in the 80s doing a funeral. It was amazing, isn't it? Always in our thoughts with an F. Got to put those little jokes in there to lift the sombre tone of this, I'm afraid, because this is going to get a little bit dark. For a comedy of its time, this was really brave. I mean, even like David Jason has said, he didn't want them to recast another man with an older man, a copy. They didn't copy, so they recast and got a new character. And here's Trig, played by the late great Roger Lloyd Pack, who we all miss greatly. Another great actor, sort of remembered in England for this, but did so many other things like Harry Potter and Doctor Who, modern Doctor Who, and he was in loads of films. He was really good. I mean, the father of Emily Lloyd Pack, who was great in Wish You Were Here, don't know what happened to her. I think she went a bit mad and disappeared off the scene, but she was good in that, and quite nice looking as well, considering he's not the prettiest guy alive, but then nor am I, so who am I to judge? Here they go. Here's the other end of London group of the family. Trigger looks looks like Sherlock Holmes in that girl, doesn't he? And here's the old boy, David Jason, getting a chance to stretch his acting wings a bit here, because he's basically up to this point in his career all sort of light comedian. He did some more serious stuff later on with Frost, which was okay. I never really was mad keen on Frost, but it was. Here we go. I love a nice funeral. Two more after the brilliant. See, the humour is brilliant. I mean, this is John Sullivan firing on all. I mean, the vicar looks a bit like a monk here with his Harry Potter cloak on. I think he's going to Hogwarts. Oh, the vicar's got some wedge. And there's an old £50 note I think he just gave to him. I mean, this is brilliant stuff, isn't it? Oh, and he's found his hat. Leonard Pearce, played Grandad up to this point, filmed some of Series 4. There's an episode after this called Hole in One, where Uncle Albert endears himself by falling down a cellar in the pub to get Grandad's headstone. And of course, he fails because that was filmed with Leonard Pearce. There are pictures of Leonard Pearce actually in the wheelchair after falling down the holes, trying to get some money as the trials fall on hard times. And Nicholas Lyndhurst here, another good actor. Can't get used to him talking posh when he talks posh in his real accent. Always remember him as sort of Cockney, or whatever this South London chat is. And there goes the hat. But I mean, it's a credit to both of the actors that they're really good at doing their voices and stuff. The devil looks a bit like a mafia don. I think he'd revisit that in Miami twice later on in The Only Fool. Maybe that's what gave John Sullivan the idea, because he looks like one now, doesn't he? All dressed in black with the devil was Rodney's in black but wearing that bloody awful Parker coat. I think I had one of those Parker coats myself in the 80s. Could zip them right up. Gently. Classic. Oh, David Jason. Comic genius, obviously. I mean, needed the words of the great writer, but brilliant stuff. Don't know why he's got his... Oh, here we go. We've lost Mr. McDonald there on the on the left of your picture. We've still got John Chalice as Boise. He's still with us doing his laugh. He said he got that laugh from someone he knew. You know, like David Jason got the character of someone he knew. He said he was a market trader. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. You can get his biography. And there we have Uncle Albert showing his face for the first time with his North London couple of people, the cast members. And of course I would assume Buster Merrifield was really nervous. I think David Jason said he was at this point, because this was his first big acting gig. I think he'd been a bank manager or something beforehand. And you can see the beards in the early stages of development. He's only sort of just started to grow. He's grown out a bit, but and he's doing a good. I think he was posh as well. Obviously, being a bank manager and all this, and a non-smoker. So you'll never see the pipe lit. Which is really weird, because he was a non-smoker and a non-drinker as well. So he never drank or smoked. So he had no vices. Always a great joke. Has anyone seen my hat? Brilliant. Just to lighten the very serious tone of the episode, really. Excellent. And we are back at the flat set that has done us well throughout the whole of Only Fools and Horses. Hasn't really changed that much, has it? Those blooming yellow orangey curtain things have always been the same. And here's Rodders all pissed up, upset with Del Boy, because Del Boy's acting like it's a party or something, and they're all having a laugh and a drink. Yeah, it's a bit early for Trigger to be wearing the blue suit, but that would have been a funny moment here as well. Maybe a little bit off tone. Here we go, Rodney completely upset. I see an interview with Nicholas Linder the other day. He's still got the same haircut, I think. It's just gone white now. He looks like the old version of himself in the last Heroes and Villains, where they jump to the future in the dream state. He looks like that now, really. So here we are, Nicholas and fags. Because Trig was not quite as daft as he really ended up. I mean, he was really thick in the end, from about series 6 onwards. But up to this point, he was more of a thief. And of course, always calling him Dave when Trigger's not about. And here's the granddad's brother, not George, who Grandad used to talk about all the time. He didn't turn up because he died, and Albert was never mentioned before. But of course, here he is. And I think David Jason said he used to keep messing up his lines in the early days. So David Jason messed up his lines on purpose to make it look like everybody, even the great professionals, do it, just to make Buster feel comfortable. And I think that helped a great deal. And I assume that what he's got in his hand is some kind of orange juice or something, because he did not drink, Mr. Merrifield. Lifelong teetotaler, apparently. Oh, he's mighty peeved off, Mr. Rodders, and they're all having a laugh. The lady on the right I've seen before, Maureen Sweeney. The guy in the middle, I think he's turned up in a few sitcoms, but I mainly remember her for being on holiday on the buses. She was a lot younger and she walked around in a nice bikini, looked rather well. I mean, she looks okay here, but she looked even nicer in On the Buses, which was some 15 years before-ish. And she played the sort of Reg Varney's, Stan Butler's love interest in that for a bit, which kept getting thwarted. And she was very nice in that too. I don't know where else she turned up in, but she's pretty good here. As the two relatives that are going to desert the old fella. See, I never thought the old fella was good. I thought he was just going to be Del and Rodney from here on in. I didn't think they were going to introduce another old, so I didn't really like this at the time. I mean, I was about 10, 11 when this aired, I think. It's 84, 85. So I'd seen the previous episode, which was with just Delboy and Rodney, and with Grandad being ill, because I think that John Sullivan said he wrote the episode before to give us a light tone as we were coming in, because we needed a light tone. It's a big caravan before we hit the drive. This is like as serious as Only Fools and Horses ever got, I think. I mean, yeah, in later years they had some dramatic moments, but most memorable being, I suppose, the lift scene in Modern Men, part of the Heroes and Villains Christmas trilogy, where they got their millions when Cassandra lost the baby, and Rodney kept running away and talk about it and wouldn't, and Del Boy trapped him in the lift, and that was about as another dramatic as they got. Here we go, sitting outside in the hallway, which we don't see very often. Looks like it's been extended a bit. Look at the Woolwich Ferry. This must have been really hard because I think this was fresh from the actual death. So, I mean, they've got I'm sure the programme would have probably been cancelled at this point. I even think David Jason and Nick Lyndhurst said that, you know, should we end it? But I think the BBC, this was just really starting to roll now, Only Fools and Horses. After the second series had been repeated and the viewing figures had gone up to like 11-12 million, and the third series even higher than that, they didn't want to let it go, and death wasn't going to stop the BBC making, you know, a load of money. So they carried on, recast, or newly cast, Uncle Albert. And even though I suppose, in hindsight, I still think Leonard Pearce is slightly funnier, whereas Uncle Albert sometimes is more of a sort of feed. He has occasional funny bits, but there you go, there's David Jason giving us an actual sad thinking about it, you know. He can't let it's not sink in, well, it's sunk in, but he can't express it. He's a master of repression, I think. So he's holding it all inside, just playing this, what he says later, the tough guy, because he always has to be the tough guy. But here he is using the death so he doesn't have to pay the drink bill, which is odd, slightly dark, eh? But no, good, it's good stuff. I mean, to say like a comedy tackling this subject, and here we go, it's Uncle Albert's first of many millions of naval anecdotes, and in the very next episode they actually discuss his naval career, and I think he didn't really go anywhere. I think he spent most of his career on the Isle of Wight, which they never come back to again because he's always telling them these stories. Yeah. And it's all very tough, and like I say, the outside here looks a bit rough. We never normally go outside, so I assume they just bung this bit of set up, a couple of flats. It's a bit Doctor Who, isn't it? It'd probably fall over if they touched it. Just giving me 5 good reasons, brilliant line. And here they are. It's the aftermath of the party, and the mess has just been left. And here's Rodney looking at the empty chair, which Leonard forever sat in. Here we go, Del Boy's actually made a proper dinner for once. Which he can't eat because, of course, Grandad always messed up the cooking. Which was good. They never carried that on, thank God. They didn't. I mean, Albert was a decent cook. I think Albert, or the older character, was always like the housekeeper sort of thing. Can't eat it, tastes nice. It is good. I mean, they're dealing with it in a lightish way, but it's still dark. Yeah. Ear, nose and throat. My father used to have a partner in business, and one day he wrote in the diary, ENF, going to the ENF at 3 o'clock. And Dad said to him, my daddy, what do you mean? What's ENF? What are you on about? And he said, ear, nose and throat. I mean, I love he was a fun guy, but bloody hell, he was obviously a bit illiterate, but, you know, these things happen. Great sprayer. There we go, is there someone in the lav? Who could be in the lav? I think my dad, also getting back to thick people, he said we're the only ones in the flat, but someone's trying to pull out lav. I like Dale's line where he says, where's my bloody hammer, because it's like so brilliant. It's like boom, 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 like a joke, brilliantly timed, yeah, so good. Are you ready for it? Here we go. Probably a washer or something. A fucking washer full of it. Brilliant stuff. Brilliant. See, he's just so brilliantly delivered with my bloody hammer. Oh, excellent. And here we go, the entrance proper of Uncle Albert. And this is where the dynamic changes in a way, because Rodney, who's been mourning pretty much throughout this, is now going to turn to be Albert's champion and want him to stay and look after him. He conked out one of them beds because he's had too much to drink, and Del Boy's going to turn and say, I don't want any family members around me anymore, especially not any old ones. And he does explain himself later, it's because they live with you so long, you look after them and then they die and they hurt you because they've gone. They take away what they were, it's so sad. Yeah. And that's why Del doesn't want to have another older relative, because the same thing will happen again. Which it did, they did a sort of, after they made their millions, they should have left that there in the final trilogy, but they did another 3 in the early 2000s, and they were really subpar as far as I'm concerned. They should have just, like other people have said to me as well, they should have carried on as a rich people, and that would have been more funny. But because they decided to lose their money again, and Albert had died, he just didn't have the same. It wasn't, and the barman had gone by Mike the barman had gone, even though he only turned up at the end of series 2. Mike the barman, he had died as well, so the cast had dwindled a bit, and he just wasn't as good. Because we'd lost Uncle Albert, they should have just left it. It's like the diminishing return. You're not going to go and stay in there because that's where my grandad, we're going to leave it exactly where we left it, and there's a perfect little joke coming your way. I think David Jason's great with props. He says in his autobiography, that my daughter bought for me for my birthday, that he would use props a lot to enhance scripts, because if you're banging around making noises and stuff, it enhances what can be a bit dull. Here we go, bung them in Grandad's room. He said they would enhance a crappy script, but he said with John Sullivan he'd got such gold that he didn't have to do it. I mean, it's still a lot of prop play, and see Rodney, always the doofus, always the one sleeping on the sofa. He says with John Sullivan he didn't have to play that part of it down a bit, because the words spoke for, they were strong enough not to need to distract from them in that way. And he's back. Boomerang try always comes back. Excellent, eh? See? And of course, they moved, they took their caravan and buggered off. Excellent. Well, of course, Rodney went a dandy. Well, they must have kept that in stock for years, because he had that on in a couple of earlier episodes. The one where Ashes to Ashes, where that's series 2, where Del was trying to get rid of Trigger's granddad's ashes. He's wearing a t-shirt in that one. Oh. Might be the only 2 times, could be wrong. But they're obviously good at, probably worth a few quid that one. We might get my hand on that and selling it on eBay. I bet the old even in itself, a Dan Dare t-shirt must be worth, because I mean Dan Dare was big in the 60s, 70s. I think not really into the 80s as much, but here we go, deserting him like that. So here's the turn. Rodney wants him to stay, and Del Boy wants to be rid. Anyway, getting back to the anecdotes of my dad's partner, he had said to him one day, he said to his partner, he said, how many beans make 5? And the partner said, I know bugger all about beans. And I think that was pre-Blackadder, so I know there's an episode of Blackadder where they're counting beans, but I'm sure that was before that. So Richard Curtis or Ben Elton must have been standing around the garage that day picking it up. Here we go, look, there's just Bernard Matthews was a guy who used to sell these weird, I don't know, they might still sell it, but they used to sell like turkeys and stuff. That's where that reference comes from in a minute. I feel like a turkey who's got Bernard Matthews grinning at him. They used to go beautiful in these adverts in the 80s of fat sort of middle-aged guy, well back then. Bernard Matthews grinning at him. See, that would be lost on a modern audience because they wouldn't have a clue what he was on about. But he used to sell meat and had farms and used to do the advert with beautiful. Now here we go, Del Boy being a bit rough with the old lad. He's going to be like, you ain't staying here, you can get away, you can go, don't want you. You're getting out, mate, you're off. He's a British Legion, yeah. See, this is just Dale's repressed anger coming out from the loss of his grandfather. And the two episodes where I've always loved Dale Boy as the character and David Jabbar. The two times I think they misplayed the character. No, this is okay. This is all right. Are you joking? You winding him up? Going to chuck you out? Because you can see David Jason playing the suppressed anger here. Get out, get away. I do not want the responsibility and loss again. I've lost one granddad that I love dearly. I do not want to lose another, or the possibility of it. So brilliant stuff. But at the end of Series 5 there's an episode called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, where Del Boy's Aussie mate comes back, and they have a row at the end of that, Del and Rodney, and I think Del's a bit serious and a bit dark then, and it didn't quite work. It was too dramatic. This is alright. This is just about right. He's got this perfect. And the Royal Flush, which is my least favourite of all Only Fools and Horses. It even goes below the final three of the final three trilogy in the early noughties, which was, I don't like. I still think that because we'd had to Hullen back in 85, I'm going to put some clothes on first. Dramatic exit ruined by comedy. Brilliant stuff. Love it. What a plonker. You've changed, Del. In the 80s clothes all zips on it. Anyway, in a Royal Flush, Del is nasty. And I might do a commentary for that if I can think of enough to say over whatever that is. But Hullen back is brilliant. Then the next year we got a Royal Flush and it was a blooming awful. Because that's where Rodney goes off with the posh prince, or whatever she is, lady or something, and Del Boy thinks they're going to get married. And so, here he is, David Jason, giving us a great performance. Here we go. This is, these two actors, they're so great. They really get powerful here and dark. You don't understand. There we go. Yesterday you were laughing and see, he was just putting on a facade, Rodders, which is just brilliant. Anyway, in a Royal Flush, Del Boy goes hard and turns evil on Rodney, and the last act is dark and it's depressing, and Del Boy really hurts Rodney, I think, and it doesn't work. And I wish that they'd never. There's not even that many funny moments in Royal Flush, so I've got all of them on DVD, legally purchased, but not that one. Don't want it. Glad to forget it. Here we go. This is brilliant. Even Rodney's reaction is good. I don't know how to grieve. Got more bounce than Zebedee. There we go. I know these scripts inside out. I'm so sad, aren't I? But I watched them so many times when I was a kid. This was taped on VHS, all of them, even these. Used to have a little black and white telly in my bedroom and a video VHS player, and used to play and wear the tapes. So I used to play them over and over again. Loved them. Missed Series 1, oddly. Got into it in Series 2. And the first time Series 2 started taping them then, I would have been, God, it was 82, so I would have been 7 or 8. And videotapes were a bit expensive in them days, so keeping them was hard work. But me and Mum and Dad used to buy them. We used to have thousands in the end, and then they became irrelevant, and you miss them, because some of these have been edited, and see, they break your bloody heart. This is beautiful, really. Really good. You could say it's Shakespeare-ish because they're sort of tragedy and comedy together. And apparently drama and comedy are the same to play because they play the same beats, although I don't really understand, but then I've read it and heard it. He's missing his granddad and he's broken. Which would happen to all of us. No one's perfect. We're all human beings. But he's recovering now, he's feeling better. Where they are, the barmaid here for this and the next series, I think, Nuala something. She moved on to. You can see her name in the credits. She moved on to The Bill and was in that forever. The English police thing. I think she got murdered in that, but she was in it forever beforehand. And of course, Mike the barman. And I think who was it at this? Was it Ray Butt? Yeah, Ray Butt is the producer at this point, I think, and he goes up all the way until Frog's Legacy. And after that, I think Gareth Gwenlyn came in and they rejiggered everything. You'll notice, because I think Del Boy, David Jason, based his voice here on Tony Dell, who was the producer. I think that's his name. No, Ray Butt. Sorry, Ray Butt. And he left, and you'll notice that in Series 6, Del Boy's accent changes slightly. He's not quite as good as this. He sort of loses it a bit. It's not exactly the same. So watch these, watch up to Series 5, and then move on to Series 6, and compare the accent. Del Boy's, David Jason's copying Ray Butt, and when Ray Butt went for Series 6, his voice changes, Del Boy. And I think the lots of things change. In Series 6, they move the pub. The pub is moved sideways, the bar sideways. They change all the angles, and they turn it on its side in Series 6. And Del Boy becomes thicker. There's no doubt about it. He starts to go down Trigger's road, and he becomes a bit more stereotypical. The characters, yeah. In Series 6 they all become stereotypes, or they become like caricatures a bit of themselves. That's what I mean, caricatures. Del becomes thicker. Rodney has a good arc in Series 6 because he gets married to Cassandra at the end. That's good. He grows here and his character's pretty consistent. But Del becomes thicker, Trigger becomes a lot thicker, and Boise he just gets more curious as he goes along. So yeah, there are a lot of changes in Series 6. They extended the length of the episodes as well in Series 6 to 50-minute episodes because apparently John Sullivan was losing a lot of his comedy on the cutting room floor. And I think it was the only BBC comedy that they ever extended like that, from a 30-minute to 50-minute. Oh, here he is Albert playing the long game, eh? Of course, Del Boy's already bunged him a load of money, which is why he can't pay the bar bill for the funeral. But growing up, this was my number one programme. I was a bit of a Doctor Who fan until Colin Baker took over when I departed the programme. But this was always, all the way through. This is childhood for me. It reminds me of the times, of everything I was doing at the time, and my bedroom with my Star Wars stuff in it, and all my figures, and I used to have a side shelf that I could sit under, and my telly was up on a mount in the corner, black and white, and my AT-AT Walker was on the counter with my Amstrad 664 computer and my Millennium Falcon and my picture of all the figures in Star Wars and that. And I had Street Hawk wallpaper in my cupboard. My dad made sliding cupboards, so I had Street Hawk wallpaper inside there. Oh my God, the 80s, a brilliant time. It was brilliant. How do you reckon their pork is? See, I digress. Yeah, so he's brilliant character play, because now Albert's going for the sympathy and he's sort of conning Del and Rodney so he can go to live with. But then I never thought he was going to go back. I thought he was going to be a one-off character. Shows that, well, I was only young, but I really didn't think he was going to stay with it. And they put you into two categories. Normally, you're a Grandad fan or an Albert fan, but they sit together beautifully well. I think Grandad was the better actor, but Albert, this is all he did, I think. He did anything else, did he really? We'll have to look at his IMDb, but I don't think he played anything else. Here we go, here comes Del Boy's softening. Shall we? But then of course Del ain't got no money, so he needs some dinner, and he knows that Albert's got some money, so it's all going to intertwine itself brilliantly here. Here we go. Fancy an Indian. I see old Rodney's face. See, reacting brilliantly in the background there. You see him to start to beam in a minute at Del Boy's return to himself. And all is right with the world, and Grandad, although he's not forgotten, the baton has been passed in some very considerable style. There we go, yeah. You're paying. Brilliant. Go Sinbad, excellent. And there we are, the closing act of what is a very sad, and then of course the final joke, the mission is still there. Yeah, now, but he's lied about it, so he's been burnt down. Shh, I'm going home, and the end. There we are. Brilliant episode. So clever. I thought I'd do a light and dark one for you for my next one. I'm sure we'll be returning to it. We'll see how we go. I'll leave it to the likes and dislikes. Let me know if you want some more Only Fools or something else. I've done a couple of other ones. I've done some Steptoe. I did the Steptoe movie, so if you want to check that out, it's on my channel here at Mike Rogers the channel. So if you want to go there, it's there for your listening pleasure. But tell me what you want, and I will do some more commenting over it. But thanks for listening, and over and out, and have a good evening.